Okay, so welcome to episode 1 of the Bodybuilding Lifestyle Podcast, the show where we discuss the challenges of balancing this lifestyle around the rest of our busy lives for those who don't do it as a full-time career. Today we are lucky enough to have Jack Gunn on the show. Thank you for coming on, Jack.
Very welcome, my man.
Aye, how's things?
Oh, good, aye. Fucking getting by. Bit less disabled every day.
That's it. Aye, so you've been on quite a few podcasts recently talking about the injury, so I won't make you discuss too much onto that today. So, in terms of bodybuilding, obviously you have competed at the highest level in terms of amateur competing, even going over to the Amateur Olympia. How would you describe how that's been so far, just kind of briefly, so that if anybody that doesn't know?
So it's a process, and it's a process that takes a long time. It's not something that's happened over just a few years. It's something that's happened over probably the best part of a decade. So I started as a junior. I was doing IBFA shows. I was doing shows when they actually had a show in Inverness. I don't know if you ever seen that when it was on.
I've spoken to a few people about that one.
That was the first show I ever did. I think it was the second year it happened.
Okay.
It was my first show. So I was like 18 or 19. So it was like 11 years ago. So as a junior, I did fucking 5, 6, 7 shows as a junior between IBFA and PCA. And then it got to, I think it was 2021. I was with Ben Chow, and we were doing an off season and decided to go ahead with the prep. And Ben had kind of said, look, the aspiration at the point was to do classic, which is the kind of route you're going down, and that's the kind of the shape I thought I had at the time. I did have a very classic shape. I had a very small waist, big quads, big shoulders, but my weight, I was never going to make a weight cap. So Ben was like, look mate, I think like you've got to accept that you're going to be an opens bodybuilder, and we kind of talked about the best route to go down, looked at shows, and we kind of thought, well, it's time to probably step into pursuing a route down the IFBB path. So I did my first two bro show, which was the MK Classic, so it's Kuba's show. That was during COVID, so that was in Maidenhead, but it was actually outside. So normally in Maidenhead they have the venue, it's in the leisure centre, but this was like in a tent in a marquee outside.
What time of year was that at?
It was summertime, so it was alright. It was really windy, so that show was like, so there was the tent for the show, and then within that there was a section for the tanning tents. So you were in your tanning tent, you dry off, but the wind was like blowing through the marquee, and it was smashing the tents off like athletes. It was like taking their tan off, and the tanning girls were running around like rolling everyone. It was fucking chaos. But that was my
as if
first.
That's not like.
I know. So it was like, So I'm
it's
like,
a difficult enough process as it is.
Try to peak for my first ever show as an opens bodybuilder. I was a heavyweight. I'm just dealing with all this other shit because of COVID. But no, it was a good experience. And then obviously from there, I kind of geared my training, nutrition, everything around being an opens bodybuilder. Up until that point, everything had been kind of kept back so that I could pursue classic. So I only really started pushing to become an opens bodybuilder in kind of 2021. So it's only less than 4 years, 3.5 years. And within that time, I put a good bit of size on, more than I thought I could. Did the Arnold UKs in 2022, the Arnold Classic. That was a great experience. That was my first ever kind of big UK show, British level show. And that was a great experience. And then 2024 last year, did the Amateur Olympia in Spain, which is arguably the biggest amateur show in the world.
It looked fucking cool.
It was really cool. So it was like, the venue was amazing, the standard of athletes was amazing, how the show was run. When you go to the Amateur Olympia, even as a spectator, you'll notice it's just miles ahead of any show you'll go to in the UK. And I don't know if it's because they've got more money they can fling at it, I don't know what it is, but it just, how it flows, how it runs, the kind of production of it, everything is just insane. But like backstage was just chaos. I've never seen so many athletes at a show, but it's so many like high standard athletes. So like, although it's still an amateur show, like lots of these guys are like right on the cusp of getting their pro card. I mean, it's where Andy got his pro card there. I mean, I was backstage with Andy, helping Andy out, fixing his tan and stuff. And so you've got like dozens of guys off that level, arguably pro standard. So it's like it's quite it sets the bar really high. For for me it did anyway. So I left that show with like a whole new idea of what the standard of athlete is out there, and it gives you a big fucking kick up the ass when you do go home and you realise what you're going to have to compete with.
Yeah. Do you reckon that gives you a bit of perspective as to how you might run things differently, before you go again?
Absolutely. It really makes you. It really highlights to you in your own head your own weaknesses, because like I said, these guys are pretty much all pro standard. So you it's insane.
I think I can somewhat relate to that, like on a smaller level. Like obviously when I competed at Granite, I did the first timers, did really well, placing in top 3 there, and then I did classic physique later on in the day, and standing next to the guys that had been doing it for years, it kind of gave me a bit more of an insight as to what's required of me this off season. So similar to what you're saying, but obviously like way lower.
It's how you take that experience and what you do with it. So we live in like a generation of little bitches, you could say. People have this little bitch.
We certainly do.
Little bitch mentality, right? And what I mean by that is you will have people who will not do a show if they know they're not going to win it, which is ridiculous. And you have first-time athletes going in with the expectation to win. I've seen people on their first show, they've gone in and they've literally thrown their medal on the ground on stage and stormed off. And it's like your first show, you should have no expectations. You're there to capture feedback, from judges, from your coach, from yourself, so that going forward you can be better and better each time. But
absolutely,
you need a good standard at a show. No one, like, I don't know about you, but I don't want to turn up at a show and it's a shit standard, because there's not really a competition then. And it's like you don't want to turn up at a show and it's empty, or there's only 1 or 2 people in your class, because it's not. It devalues the success.
The win.
If you do win. So like I don't get this whole mentality of, I hope there's not many people in my class, or I hope there's not many good people there. You want to stand next to the best in your class, and you want to stand next to as many people as possible.
And then that win holds a bit more weight.
The win holds more weight, and then you get more data, from the comparison against other athletes. I mean, you can, if you look at yourself in a lineup of 10 guys, and you within 5 seconds of looking at it, you can see what you're missing that other people have as well. So you go, well, that guy, his legs stand out to me straight away. So that's what I need. It needs to be my legs that are standing out. That's what I do with pictures after shows and stuff. So
I think that's maybe something that I took away from that first season there was, now how heavily I'm kind of going towards my posing, because looking back on it, I look back at the photos of me on stage and like my posing was horrific. Maybe not as bad as what you might see from some people, but for me now, I look back at it, I'm like, I should have done way more effort trying to put into the posing.
Probably horrific in your head now, based on what you know now, but at the time, as far as first timers go and posing goes, it was very good. That's like my opinion but like I totally get what you're saying. It's like it was good, but it could be better.
Yeah, I think it's important to have like a level of being critical towards yourself, not in a sense of like putting yourself down, but like definitely looking for room to improve. And it's the same with your physique as well. You know what I mean? Like I think people nowadays, especially, they've got like body dysmorphia, stuff like that, and it's very difficult to fall into that hole. But like the way that I always look at it is like try and be grateful for what you've done so far, and appreciate it and strive for more.
Yeah. Well, as long if up until the point you're on stage, right? If you've done everything you possibly could, right? What is there to guilt trip yourself about? What is there to be satisfied with? As long as you've fucking ticked all the boxes, it's fine. But if you've like missed days here and there for no good reason, then okay, fair enough. You do have a right to be pissed off at yourself. You should give yourself
I just got to leave no stone unturned.
Exactly. So if you do that, things will be fine. There's no reason to look back and give yourself a hard time. But I think a lot of people do not give the level of effort that they probably should. And like you said, it's all the little things as well. So your posing, presentation, your tan, your peaking, all the little things.
The 1% that add up to the greater final product. Yeah,
100%.
So obviously, in regards to your competitive career, like the main basis of this podcast is discussing how that fits in with the rest of your lifestyle. So I've actually got a couple of questions that I've written down just to kind of lead it in that direction. So career-wise, obviously now you're in a position with your career where being able to do bodybuilding at the same time is a bit easier, but could you give us a rundown on how you've been able to actually get yourself into that position?
Yeah, so, I mean, it's probably quite hard for me to say what I've done because it's something I've always done, so you just naturally find a way. So I've always worked, not necessarily a 9 to 5. When I first started bodybuilding, I was in a craft role, so I was a field technician for a utilities company. So I was an electrical fitter, so we used to work in substations and all sorts. And it was, quite often very unsociable hours. When there's power cuts and storms, you're getting called out, and when you get called out, you can get called out for days, until the power goes back on, essentially. So there's obviously challenges presented there. The biggest one being food and getting food in. But there's always a way, and it literally was just a case of, well, I've got to have my fridge stocked to the brim with all my meals. That was fine. So when I cooked, I just cooked even more than I needed. Kept them in the fridge. I would just have to accept the fact that I'm going to have to eat some of my meals cold sometimes. And then over time, I got an inverter fitted in my van, so I got a microwave, and I would so I could heat my meals up. So there's
that's the dream.
So it's just adapt and overcome. But I think a lot of people now, if you were to say to them, "Oh, you have to eat your meal cold," they would just not eat their meal. It's it's just tough shit. So it's
they don't want it bad enough.
Basically, So it's you always find a way. But then, I don't know. A lot of people ask me, because obviously I do coaching as well. I've owned a gym. I've had and do have my own business. And people have said about going full time with that. I actually think I would struggle more full time as a coach or as a PT than I would within the roles I've done in the past and the role I do now. Because I'd be spending all that time on the gym floor. I always feel it would devalue my time on the gym floor, which you can probably relate to that a bit. I think it's total person dependent. Maybe it's just the way I am. But with my role, there's a lot of independence. There's a lot of flexibility there. And I've got a good balance of it. I've got a good routine with it as well. I've been off my work for 4 or 5 months due to injury, which you know about, and I hated that 4 or 5 months because I lost that routine that I've been used to for years. So actually, being back now, I've got that back, and actually it's benefited my bodybuilding.
Absolutely. I mean, bodybuilders, we literally thrive on routine. You know what I mean? It's we can joke around a lot about having a slight level of autism and being able to keep in routine. I think that's important for bodybuilding. You've got to want structure, or else it doesn't work, because that's what it is getting your meals in on time, making sure you get your sleep, making sure you're training hard. Everything needs to fall in line for everything to be perfect.
100%. But I mean, with regards to jobs, careers, it's not often that there's a solid excuse. I have coached guys offshore. I've coached girls who are midwives, nurses, who shifts run over about 4 or 5 hours, who have irregular sleep patterns. I've people who do shift work, and I actually sometimes find that these people get the best results. They have the biggest grasp of their routine because they have an irregular routine. So their preparation tends to be better, and then now and then things come along, and you do hear people say, "Well, I don't have time to do this, don't have time to do that." There's always time. It's how you use the time. You know what I mean? It's just making effective use of the time you have when you have it. It might not be laid out in a convenient manner, like it could be potentially for someone who works an 8 till 4 or something. But the time is there in a day. You just have to split up your meal preps, split everything.
It's definitely more challenging for certain people. Like if they're going to the gym at like 5:30 peak time, you know, that's one of the reasons that I stopped doing construction. And I mean, I already had my PT qualification at that point, but I was like, nah, I need to go full time and do this and stop going to the gym in the evening times because I fucking hated not getting on kit and shit like that, you know. And it's difficult, but you can make it work.
Yeah, I think one thing I will say, so like if you work in a manual labour job full time versus if you work in a desk job full time, I definitely do see the clash between a really manual job and bodybuilding. You could be in some manual jobs 20,000-30,000 steps a day, and those steps could be like carrying heavy things on your back, like on your knees, working. It's like a bricklayer or something, for example. Like you're going to be fatigued at the end of that day before you come into the gym. So it's going to be really hard in that sense. Versus, you know, if you're sat working from home on a PC, which is what I mostly do, it's not that bad. Do you know what I mean? It's if you can get up the odd break here and there in the day to do some steps, you know, when it comes to the evening for training, things are absolutely fine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you'd agree, but like in terms of like coaching people between them two variables, so somebody that's on a construction site doing hard manual labour and somebody that's sat at a desk, it definitely affects the way that you would program for them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Definitely. Like the guy that's working hard on a construction site, he's going to have a lot less expenditure that we can put into the gym because he's taken up so much from his work already.
Yeah, you got to feed them so much more as well.
Yeah,
so much more.
Absolutely.
It's, some of the food volumes I've had to give guys who work in these manual jobs is insane, and they burn through it as well. They make full use of it.
100%,
big time.
Mm-hmm. So I'll move on to the next question that I'd had. So do you think that you struggle without the freedom that you've got now if you were doing a normal 9 to 5, or do you think you would still just find a way?
So if I didn't work a 9 to 5.
So, like, I mean, because obviously just now you've got time, like, kind of during the day because you work from home. If you weren't working a 9 to 5, would you still be able to make it work, or do you think it would be a bit more of a struggle for you?
No, I would still make it work. It would be a bit more difficult, but it would just come down to, like, planning. You know, planning to not fail, essentially. And I've done it before in the past, so I know I could make it work again. I think so psychologically for me it might not be so difficult, but maybe for someone who is making that hard change, you know, later in their life for the first time, it would probably be a big thing to deal with.
Yeah, it's when you touch on like preparation there, that's something that I've noticed with a couple of clients that they'll struggle. So if somebody's like checking in and they're like, yeah, so I was eating good up until Wednesday, and then all my meal preps ran out, and then it was fucked on Thursday, and it's like, just ensuring that people are actually getting that preparation in place if they've got a busy life is so important.
100%. Just like, I mean, I've got my meal prep days, so Wednesdays and Sundays, that's my meal prep days. And that's what works best for me. There's been on prep, things are a bit different. I like to cook all my meals fresh.
So that's what I do regardless, all the time.
I would like to do it.
I'm lucky enough.
I mean, it depends. Like, if I'm like balls deep in an off season, and you're eating huge volumes of food, I think meal prep is an absolute must. Or you're going to get caught out quite quickly. In a prep, when food volume's a bit lower, your meals are more spaced out, you've got that bit more time, and then obviously there's value in cooking your meals fresh because flavour, etc. That's the reason that I do it. But not everybody's in a position where they can, you know. No, so I guess. But I mean, then again, I've done preps, like I said, when I was on the tools, and I had to eat like chicken and rice cold, which is like vile. But there's like small little things you can do. Like when it came to like say chicken and rice, which was one of my two of my meals in a day, I found just adding pineapple to that meal made it so much more tolerable. But it's not necessarily because of the flavour. It's just the different texture. It's quite a dry meal when it's cold. So just putting in like some fresh pineapple, and it stays relatively fresh. If you cut it in the morning, put it in your meals, it stays relatively fresh out the day, and it's just that like added texture just makes it so much more digestible. So it's like small little hacks.
Thing is, there's other things that you can do as well. Like, so our mate David, he just started working out on wind farms on the excavators, and at first he was just eating his meals cold. But he actually, this thing that he's got is fucking cool. It's like a wee box, and he keeps his meals in it, and it heats it up through the day, and then he just eats it straight out of them. Like, we live in 2025. Like, we've got this technology that we can use to benefit us now. You know?
Yeah. So I've got a cooler box. So I think you've got the same one.
You recommended Simone to get me for Christmas.
for your birthday or Christmas.
It's either or.
So I had a Jeep at one point, right? And I had a 12-volt socket in the back of the car, and I got a ratchet strap, and I strapped the wee fridge cooler chest into the boot, and plugged it into the 12-volt supply, and I would just keep meals in the car because I was out of the house so much, out on sites, in the office, whatever. At the gym, with clients in the gym. So I just carry meals about me, but it's got two functions on it, chill and heat, so you can, one, keep your meals warm if you put warm meals in it, or you can keep them chilled. So, you know, say like you're driving down to like England or something, you know, you make all your meals. I don't really trust those little cool bags, because I find that they lose their cool quite quick. Then you get to England 7-8 hours later, and you go and eat your chicken that's not been chilled for like 6-7 hours. It's a bit risky. So the cooler box is amazing. I think it was only like 40 or 50 quid when I bought it.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing that's annoying. I see when people say that they can't do things like this, like, oh, I'm going away down the road for work or something like that. I'm staying there that night. I'm not going to be able to do my meal prep. It's like, well, you could. You know what I mean? You can find a way. I mean, like, see if I know that I'm going to like a hotel or something with Simone, I'll walk through the hotel reception with my fucking microwave. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's, you know.
The cooler box, I took that down to the UK Arnold, and I put it in a separate suitcase. And it was like, I was like 20 odd kilos overweight, and I had to pay, it was like nearly 200 quid in baggage fees to take it down and take it back. I actually, in hindsight, this must have been prep brain, would have been better just like ordering one to the Airbnb and just leaving it.
It's like 40 quid,
but I paid to take it down on the plane and back because it was so handy.
So that's the level of dedication there, you know what I mean? And
at the time,
that's why when certain people say they can't do this, they can't do that because they're going away, it's like there 100%. Is definitely means of making it happen.
That's actually brings me to a good point. So with competing, if you're talking about preparation, always book an Airbnb or serviced accommodation. I have made the mistake, and I try and push this on to clients, do not book a hotel room because you will get fucked over. You will fall short. See, try to cook, try to prepare. I mean, for Granite, we stayed, okay, fair enough, it was in a hotel, but the hotel the rooms had a kitchen facility in them.
And we had to upgrade to a certain room
so you get like a sink, an oven, a microwave, all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, that's what you need.
But you don't get that often.
No, it's really hard to get. I mean, the year I did the UK Arnold, I got caught out, so I booked my accommodation way too late, and I ended up having to book. I couldn't even get a good hotel. I think a travel lodge, and it was like the worst competitive experience of my life because of that reason. Mm-hmm. So
it's definitely important to make sure that you're either able to take facilities with you that are going to allow you to do your preparation, or you're booking like an Airbnb, like you say.
Absolutely.
Just so you don't get caught out on that, you know.
Definitely.
So have you ever thought about switching career at all? Like, I know that you kind of mentioned about people asking you about going full-time with coaching. I know that you had kind of spoken about that in the past. Like, what's your kind of thoughts on that?
So the reason I've never done it, I've thought about it, the opportunity's been there many times to do it, is the career I work in day to day. It's something that it's taken me years to work up to. It's a good job. It's not something that's easy to just step away from. You know, it's a good job. Perks are good. It's a year's sick pay if you're off sick, and if you're self-employed, you're not making money if you're off sick. And in hindsight, when I hurt my leg, that really kind of saved my bacon. And so there's a lot of so there's a lot of pros and cons in that sense. But I guess everything always came back to it, and it was the same with owning the gym. Everything came back to my own bodybuilding. That's my priority. And I felt with the gym, owning a gym and trying to pursue a professional status within bodybuilding, they're two conflicting things. That's maybe not the case for everyone else, but for me personally, I found it the two to be a conflict. And it's the same, I think, with coaching, so like, and PT as well. I love my time in the gym. I love coaching as things are now, but I think you can oversaturate both of those things, and it can take away. But that's me personally. I know I appreciate that some people have a capacity for, working with like 100 clients. You know what I mean?
So the way that I would kind of relate to that, I think I've spoke to you about this before. When I was at the other gym before, when I was PTing, and I was doing like 12-hour shifts on the gym floor, and I had a lot more clients then, like actual in-person PT clients, and I would try and train like midday, and like chances are there's like 10 people in the gym when I'm training that are clients, and they're coming up and asking you questions and stuff like that, which is great, but like you want that time to be able to actually dedicate to your training undisturbed. So I think for me, scaling back the in-person stuff and focusing more so on online coaching, then obviously I moved to the Forge, and I do like a maximum of like 5 hours of PT in like one day, and I don't get that same issue now. It's
definitely a thing, but I mean, like, for me, I hate being rushed, especially when it comes to training. If I go into a training session knowing, they say it's 1 o'clock, I've got to be done by 3:30, be done by 2:30. Like, I couldn't do that. I just my head would not be in the session. It would be looking at the clock and rushing things. And when you rush things, you don't do them right, you don't do them properly, and you get less value out of the session. But for me personally, I get like there's people out there who would probably thrive under that pressure, and they'll use it to like get things done, just hone in, and you know what I mean. But
that's just definitely a difficulty that I've got. Like, cause, like I normally train about 1 o'clock, and I've got to pick my son up from nursery at 3, so there is that window there where it's kind of like there's a level of pressure. And then if people get chatting to you in the gym and stuff like that, some people are very difficult to get away from as well, and you don't want to be rude. And then all of a sudden it's like 2:15, and you're like, fuck, I've got to leave soon.
No, 100%. And it's, I think like if you go to the gym, right, and if you just try to picture, if you coach say 50 people, right, and they all go to the same gym as you, and you go in to train at peak hour, the odds are 20, 30 of your clients are going to be in, and the odds are half of them are going to want to come and talk to you about their stuff. That's like a lot of people coming up and talking to you, and it's so I could see how that could potentially eat into your own kind of bodybuilding as well.
100%. That's definitely why I decided that I was going to scale back the in-person stuff. I find that with online coaching, it's actually a bit different because it's not always people that are going to your gym. So that you don't really get that same issue. But then you also kind of miss out on that time in person with them too. So I think it's trying to find that balance.
Setting boundaries is the key thing.
Yeah, no, 100%. So, alright, so that was the other thing I was actually going to bring up. So, obviously, we'd spoken just there about the potential of you ever going full time with coaching, but how do you find managing to kind of keep that just on the side alongside your actual career?
I find I can give a lot of time to it. I can do, by capping it, by capping it, I can give much more time to it. And what essentially I mean by that is, like, so I cap myself literally at 10 people. If there was a few people who were absolutely desperately passionate to compete, I'd maybe make space for 1 or 2 more, but I would never push things beyond that. But what it allows me to do is it allows me to physically be present to see them in person. I'm a pretty big advocate of, I'm not really going to get behind coaching someone if I can't often see them in person, because I don't feel I can fully help them as best I can in the way I would like to. I can physically go attend and be at all their shows. It's a nice balance, and I've got that time with my own day job to switch off. My day job is almost like I like it. It's a switch off. It's it pays the bills sort of thing. And the way I look at my coaching business is it's not something I look to profit off for fun money. It pays for my bodybuilding, and do you know what I mean? And it pays for me to go to these client shows and see their shows and be a part of it. It's
you're doing what you love.
Yeah, because when I'm not competing, you're like, for example, right now being injured, I'm not going to be able to compete, but I'm still passionate about bodybuilding. I still want to be involved, and the best way for me to be involved is through my clients.
Absolutely.
So having the coaching business and helping people, it enables me to be able to take a few days, get an apartment down in say Glasgow, go down around a few days around the show, be involved in the show. For example, like Granite, managed to do the guest spot. I've judged at Granite before as well. Be there with my clients two days before the show, stay with them the night off the show. You know what I mean? It's a perfect balance for me.
It allows you to still do that.
And I think if I had... I just think if I had 50, 60, 70 people, I wouldn't be able to do that. And it's
the quality of the service kind of decreases.
Yeah, but it's like my satisfaction from it as well, if you know what I mean. Yeah. As well, like I've missed one client's show, and the only reason I missed it is because I ruptured my tendon in my leg, and I literally couldn't
It's a pretty
walk.
good reason, though.
Yeah, so I couldn't go, but I was absolutely gutted, and I think he'll tell you himself. I think I sent like 5 or 6 apologies. Probably sounded stupid, but like I was sounding really apologetic, because I've been there for everyone else. I know the value that there is in your coach being physically present as well. And I would hate to have so many people that I couldn't do that for everyone. And I also, like, having, say, 10 clients in one show, that's like unfathomably stressful. I think I've had 4 or 5 in Granite at once, and it's hard work, really hard work. So you're up and down the stairs multiple times a day, running backstage, back down to the audience, having a look at people outside in the better lighting. WhatsApp, it's like non-stop. So to do that with even more people, like, I don't know.
Do you think it maybe takes away from the kind of fun of it as well? If
Exactly.
It starts becoming stressful rather than you're doing something that you're passionate about.
100%. I think if for some reason I was to ever lose my job, right, 100% I could just pick it up and push my coaching as my full-time business, but it would be more of a business, where it's like right now it's very sentimental. It's like it's something very like kind of close and meaningful to me. So I just feel it would just be the same thing, but a bit less of that. Yeah. So
it's not really something that you want to kind of push solely as your source of income.
Yeah. Enjoying bodybuilding brain, brilliant what I'm doing now. If I was from like a business revenue brain, I could go down that route and push it more. But for now, I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I get satisfaction from it.
Yeah, nice one. Now, it sounds like you've managed to set up a pretty good kind of, platform to be able to do what you want to do balance. And still have the coaching side of it that you enjoy while having your day career,
100%.
So I think that's what a lot of people want as well, A lot of people want to be able to put their career in a position where it allows them to do what they want to do outside of it,
It's time allocation is how you manage your time. Like, don't get me wrong, the more things you have to juggle, the harder it becomes, but it's possible. Do you know what I mean? It's possible to have a successful business, to have a successful career, and to be a bodybuilder. It's just the limitations you set upon yourself through excuses, essentially.
Yeah, you've got to be willing to make that effort initially to reap the rewards further down the line.
Absolutely, and there's like other things like that make it easier. I mean, like if you're in a relationship and you've got like a supportive partner, that feeds into it. That makes it easier. Like there's small little things that all add up to making it an easier thing to do.
Your circle of friends as well that you've got around you.
Absolutely,
It's I think something that I learned kind of like the hard way actually, because I've been training in the gym for over 10 years now, and I think the majority of the time that I was training, I didn't make anywhere near as much progress as I've made now. But I think what that has been, obviously, it's been like signing up with yourself, being able to have somebody else take control of the reins, but also stepping away from the sort of friend groups that I had in the past. We're like kind of partying all the time, stuff like that. But if you hang around 5 smokers, you'll be the 6th. If you hang around 5 bodybuilders, you'll be the 6th.
Absolutely, you mirror the people around you, and it's like it goes back to the beginning of this conversation, like the amateur Olympia in Spain. It's even if you're not of that standard and you're maybe not quite there yet, there's still value in going because you're surrounding yourself with people who are in a position that you yourself desire to be in. and you have conversations with them, you build connections, and it all feeds into you yourself getting to that point.
100%.
You know, like if I think when I was in Spain, like some of the most value I got from it was the connections I made and the conversations I had, not necessarily the stepping on stage part. You speak to other coaches out there, you speak to other athletes, you speak to event organisers, you find out the nitty gritty of what they're looking for, you get rigorous feedback on you as an athlete, you find out other people's processes, their tips and tricks. It's like, just go out and be a sponge.
Yeah, 100%. That's couldn't have said it better myself there, actually. Aye. That's definitely something that I think that I've definitely taken away from that first competitive season, was just like you said, making them contacts, meeting new people, making friends as well. You know what I mean? Which I think people could underestimate the value of, is the people that you've kind of pick up along the way that are able to support you. You know?
That's it. And listen to everyone. Like I was having this chat with Reid. I was chatting with Reid in the gym last night, and we were talking about like different training styles, and I was saying I have never been a person to advocate for one style of training. I've gone down. I've trained with Jamie Johal. I've trained with Jack Gunn. I've trained with like all sorts of people, and every time you go and train with someone, like you learn something new. They'll do something different to how you do it. But they could tell you 100 things. Even if there's 99 things that aren't going to be of any use to you, if there's one thing that you can carry over to your training that's of benefit, you should do it. You should do it. Like go out, try new things, listen to what everyone has to say, even if they're not like a big, massive opens bodybuilder. Like I've had advice of people who who've barely stepped foot in a gym, but they understand exercise science. And okay, fair enough that not always right, but I have taken things away from people in that position. So
100%.
I
think techniques of exercise, what works for one person might not also favour another person, and it's the same with like exercise selection as well. So I was actually saying this to a client last night. This exercise, and we were talking about that standing glute bridge that we've got in the gym, and like I've already said this to you, I get zero connection on that at all, but like other people swear by it, and it's just finding out what works for that individual. Don't just be closed off to one thing just because one person said this. It might not work for you. You just need to be willing to experiment and try new things.
Same with like exercises that got you to where you are now, right? So I have had conversations with people in the gym, and for example, we'll say like incline bench, right? Because that's one I used to do all the time. And someone would be like, "Oh, I'm just not really feeling incline bench anymore. It's weird. It used to be a great movement for me. It was really strong, but I just don't connect the same with it now." But week on week, they keep pushing it. They end up with pain. They're not getting a good connection. They're not getting a pump. They're not really creating any stimulus. And it's like, well, why are you still doing it? It's okay to like accept. Okay, that worked for me for 10 years. It doesn't work anymore. Like I'll find something different. Okay, well, there's an incline machine here, plate loaded machine that works great. Just do that.
I think we both said that about the V squat, didn't we?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like the V squat, I built my quads, and the V squat, I stand by that. Really direct bit of kit. But I just, get little to no gain from it now. Yeah. One being, there's a limit of what you can load in the machine when you max it out. There's only so many bands you can put on it as well. But it's just after a while, you sometimes you just don't get the same benefits from things. It's time to change.
Find something new.
But it's actually being receptive and open to that change. It's weird.
Yeah.
Not many people are on board with that. A lot of people just feel they'll do the same thing they've done since the day they came in the gym the first time. Yeah, and they're kind of scared to try anything new. Yeah, it's an ongoing thing. Things always change. Not necessarily by the week, by the month, but certainly, as the years go by, you'll have to change things drastically. Yeah, I think as well, listening to people online a lot. So I've had a lot of clients saying like, "Oh, I've heard this person say this online," and it's like from somebody that's got no gradations to be talking about it. I think a lot of people shouldn't have access to the internet because there's definitely 100 ways to skin a cat in terms of doing things correct with exercise, but there's definitely wrong ways of doing it as well. It's like would you go into a doctor's surgery and speak to a GP and accept a prescription off him without having had a conversation with him or giving him any information about you? Like absolutely not. It's like someone prescribing you what their opinions on exercise online. They don't know you. They don't know anything about you. They've not seen you train. They don't know what kit you have access to. They don't know. It's baseless. So the people who make really firm, assertive statements like this does not work online. It's like that's the stuff that grinds my gears, because it's well, that's not true. You can't say that for the entire population. That's not the case at all.
Yeah, because everybody's totally different.
Yeah, but I think that the issue is in their wording. It should be like, do you do this? Do you struggle to connect with it? Here's an alternative. Try this.
Yeah.
It's
like that suggestion to try something. Rather
yeah, mate. I seen a thing online about someone saying dumbbell lateral raises are bullshit, and they don't create nearly the same stimulus as cable cuff lateral raises. Which straight away you're like, bullshit. It's virtually the same.
They're trying to cancel exercises that have worked for years and that have built some of the best physiques that we've ever seen on a bodybuilding stage. Yeah,
Dan Bastick actually shared a thing on a story with some scholar, someone university or something, did an actual study on that, on dumbbell lateral raises versus cable cuffed raises. And I don't know if it was actually stemmed from this same video that I seen, but they basically concluded that it's no different. There's no added benefit. Do you know what I mean? So it's like,
I think people get too much into the nitty gritty of like the science behind lifting now. Like I'm imagining that somebody's reasoning for saying that a dumbbell lateral raise is inferior to a cable cuffed lateral raise is the resistance profile. So that there's not as much tension at the bottom. But it's like, why has that worked for so long then for so many people? I mean, that's my exercise choice that I use. I've gone completely off using the cables because I don't feel like it. I get a lot of problems with my rotator cuff. Dumbbells, they seem to work for me.
So the times where I use cuffs, right, is if I've got heavy dumbbells in my hand. Sometimes they start to slip out your hand. You get pain. You get pain in your wrist from trying to hold the position of dumbbells upright. So I find I can go heavier on cables because there's a comfier. The way it's wrapped around my wrist is far comfier than holding the dumbbell. But I'll always go to the dumbbells first.
Yeah, 100%. And the cables are a bit more of a fuck around setting them up as well.
This is the thing as well. If you were to totally nuance your training, right, and go completely new school with your training, you would have no intensity in your training, in my opinion, because the setup time of everything and the little analysis and tweaking, it just takes away from the session. There's too much brain power involved in that. There's too much time and effort involved in that to build up any intensity. It's you should not be spending more time setting up your exercise than it takes you to actually do all your sets. That's 100%. When it gets ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's there's definitely a lot of funky exercises that are way too much set up, and you'd rather just kind of fucking pick up some weight and shift some tin,
Absolutely, yeah.
And there's something to be said for that.
Yeah.
Fucking right. So here, sometimes you just have them sessions though, man. Like I went into do back yesterday, and when you like pull up outside the gym and you're like, what, I'm just gonna fucking go in there and shift some tin. Just fucking like, sometimes that's what it need.
I went out to a gym years ago at work, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, in the Western Isles, and there was a leisure centre gym, but the gym was shit. There was no point even walking through the front doors, right? And I went on Facebook, and I found this like secret like gym forum for this island, and basically this guy had a barn on his farm, and he had a wee club, and everyone just put like £1 in a tin when they went in, and it was like old cast dumbbells, like rusty barbells and plates and stuff, but I was like, at least I can actually sort of do some of my training here. So I turned up, it was freezing cold, put £1 in the tin, spoke to the guy, he's like, just knock yourself out. There was like an old school low row machine, but it was literally just pretty much dumbbells and barbells in a barn, and I had one of the best sessions I've ever had.
Yeah.
In there.
Sometimes that old school way of training, it's just,
Yeah.
So this is the final question that I've got written in here, is what is the best advice that you would give to somebody trying to get into bodybuilding? So they've maybe been going into the gym and they've been training, but they've now made that decision, I want to go and stand on stage for the first time.
Yeah, don't rush it. Don't run before you can walk. Build build a physique worthy of standing on stage. You know, don't just do it to take part. Do it to do well. You know, do everything with purpose. So I think like you want to. Your first time on stage is your best opportunity to capture feedback, and that's what it should be. Is an opportunity to capture feedback and, you know, base the next few years of your training and everything within your competitive journey. So don't go in with any expectations to take home trophies. If you do take home a trophy, nice one, you know, be delighted with it. But certainly don't have any expectations to do it. But yeah, just don't think too much into it. It's I think the first competitive season, first competitive prep you ever do will be your most difficult, because you will go through all the difficult aspects of prep, but you will have no concept, you know, of the reason why you're doing it, which is stepping on stage, because you've not yet done it. Your second prep will be a breeze, because when you're going through all these when you're going through this difficult process, you can just reference the feeling of being on stage, doing well, you know, that end result coming to reality. That
feeling as well.
You can visualize that, and everything becomes worth it. But when you don't have that, it's very difficult. So your first prep will be your hardest, but your most rewarding, regardless of if you place. You know what I mean? If you don't place, it's
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, I remember, I don't know if you remember at Granite, but see, when you first come out of the athlete section and you come out onto the kind of first floor bit where you're up above the crowd and you can just hear them roar when you come out. Like, I remember that feeling that I had, man. I had fucking goosebumps, and like, it was in that moment. And you'd been saying to me for the whole of prep, like, you don't yet know the reason why people come back and do this again. And like, when I stepped out and I fucking heard the crowd, seen the stage, and I was like, this is what Jack's on about. This is why I'm going to keep doing this, you know. It's
good. I mean, I had the same thing that year. So that Granite last year, I had the exact same thing for the first time in a long time, because it was the first ever guest spot I did. So like, it's stepping out to do a guest spot is different to stepping out to compete, because you know, as
more pressure.
Yeah, as a guest poser, you're okay. Fair enough. There's less pressure to be in amazing shape. There's like there's less pressure in that sense, but there's pressure to be like a spectacle. There's pressure to be somewhat entertaining. There's pressure to stay up there for a considerable amount of time. So it's like different pressures.
How long were you out there?
It was like nearly 20 minutes. So it was, I think my own individual routine was like 4 minutes or something. And then Andy came up, did one-to-one posing with Andy for about 5 minutes. Then everyone else came up, and there was about 5 minutes of free posing. And then Rob did the old Olympia style athletes call out a pose. That was about another 5 minutes. So it was nearly 20. I was fucked after that. Absolutely.
I was gutted. I missed it all, because I was. It was classic physique right after you.
Yeah,
I was backstage. I missed it.
Mate, it was.
I've seen the videos.
Really, really hard going, but it was the most fun I've ever had on a bodybuilding stage, and I don't think it'll ever be beaten. For me, anyway, it was so much fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was now if I was asked to do it again. Yeah, no bother, no worries, because
you've got that
got
experience there.
I can visualize it, I can picture it. But yeah, that was quite. It was like going back to compete for the first time.
Yeah, and it kind of just reminds you of that reason why 100%. You do it all in the first place, you know.
Absolutely, mate.
So it is an amazing thing that we do, and I don't think a lot of people understand it either.
No.
I think something that I would say for people that are going into their first prep is expect that, you know, there's going to be difficulties with relationships, friendships. I actually had a friendship end while I was on prep because they just didn't understand what I was doing. You know, like, why are you not wanting to come out drinking with me? Why are you not wanting to do this? Oh, you're always training, you're always dieting. And like, if somebody doesn't understand it, they're not worth keeping around, because they're not going to support what you're doing at all, you know.
Yeah, no, 100%.
You know, have you had any sort of experiences like that?
Oh yeah, 100%. But I've always been quite cutthroat. Like, like, I don't really give a shit. If someone wants to have a go at me for not coming out for a drink, okay, well, you can deal with that. Like, I don't care what you think. It's I think when I first started out, it was an issue. I've had relationships where it's been an issue, but I've a good grasp on things. I think after a certain amount of years, people just know you for that, which is, it doesn't necessarily mean that's your entire identity, but people after long enough, they just expect you to, oh, you're going to be going to the gym tonight, so you're not free, or they just expect that, oh, you'll have your own food with you, you know, the stuff like that. It just takes time.
Yeah, 100%. I think you gradually kind of change the friend groups that you've got as well, so that they're people that are doing the same thing that you're doing, you know?
Yeah. No, be ruthless. If, like, the biggest part about being a friend is, like, backing what each other does and supporting what each other does. And if one of your friends is wanting to pursue bodybuilding and do well in it, like, get behind them. Don't encourage them to go out and ruin what they're doing by shoving loads of alcohol down their throat. It's like, it doesn't have to be like that, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, I like the idea of my friends competing, you know, because obviously we've got quite a few people within this next year that are going to be competing, and it's I'm excited to see it.
Yeah,
you know?
No, it'll be good. It'll be good. It's especially up here, it's becoming more of a thing.
Yeah, this was something that we were. I'm just going to close my curtains over because the sun's a
What
bit
is it?
But it's up there. I can actually see the screen now. This was something that we were talking about before we actually started the podcast. Was a goal of mine, and I think it's something that you've kind of wanted as well, is to make bodybuilding a bit more prominent in the Highlands where we're based.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just trying to, you know, figure out the best way to encourage new people to venture into this. Yeah. I think the fact that we used to have a competition in Inverness was good. And what was the reason that ended?
I don't know the exact reason. If it was usually, the thing is, it was usually quite a good turnout as well. But maybe it just wasn't worth it financially. I'm not too sure. But I think the person who, and I can say this with confidence, I think the person who has done the most for bodybuilding here is Rob Rose with Granite. So although the show is in Aberdeen, you know, Rob is very, very heavy on, you know, pushing it to athletes all across Scotland, including the Highlands. Rob's also very visible himself up here. He's from here, so he comes through.
His family stay here, don't they?
Yeah. So he comes through with posters. He's like done a lot for bodybuilding for probably not much personal gain. And I think since the first Granite started, I would say bodybuilding has like doubled in Scotland. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's directly to do with having that show that, you know, everyone can see it as a very friendly show, a very appealing show to go to for your first attempt. But equally, there's a really good standard. So if you're a seasoned bodybuilder, it's not a waste of time going there. There's a lot of value. If you're not into bodybuilding, it's very entertaining. A lot of bodybuilding shows are it's like a factory line of just classes,
like a conveyor belt.
I get bored watching some bodybuilding shows, but Granite is just not boring. It's entertaining. Like, he gets guest posers in. You know, it's
your gran can come and watch it and she'll enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. It's just like there's shows I've done where I would have told my family, don't bother coming because you won't enjoy it. It'll be boring. But like Granite, I would encourage everyone to come because it's like good fun. There's you know, there's like
Granite win that People's Choice for the bodybuilding for the UK. Like bodybuilding show.
I think there's another one that they should have won. I would arguably say it's the best bodybuilding show in the UK, and I'm not just saying that because I know Rob or I'm from here. I've been to shows all across the UK of, you know, a British level. You know, the amateur Arnold I was at. Okay, yeah, it was cool being there, being part of that expo, but as an athlete, I didn't feel that very well looked after. Versus Rob and the guys at Granite, they make a lot of effort to look after the athletes. The athletes there come first. It's not the crowd.
Even like the athletes area backstage, you know,
exactly.
Like, they've got like loads of food and that there for you, and you know, there's actually a place to sit down. Like, I know that a lot of people have said that, like, when they've been to shows that they're literally like lying on concrete floor and shit like that.
I couldn't lie down at the Arnold, mate. I was at the UK Arnold. I paid like nearly £300 to do the show, and I couldn't get a space to even sit down.
And it's like a massive federation as well.
Yeah, versus I think if you couldn't get a place to lie down at Granite, I honestly think they would they would move heaven and earth to find a place for you to plonk yourself down. Like you wouldn't be left stuck, and that's why they do so well. That's why they've got such a good name. And
it's a lot of people's favourite show to compete.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I love going to it, but yeah, and I mean, like I said, the guest pose I did there, the guest spot with when all the boys came up is like that's genuinely the most fun and probably the most memorable experience I've had in bodybuilding in the time that I've done it, and that's thanks to Rob.
I know. I wonder what they'll do this year to try and kind of trump that.
I don't know, mate. Can't trump that. Yeah.
I mean, they're just going to have to cancel it this year. Just
not trumpable. Yeah. No, I think I'm sure whoever they get will be great, and they'll do a good job of it. They always do.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's us just coming up towards an hour now. So I think we've managed to get a good amount in there. It's pretty good topics discussed there. Hopefully it was entertaining as well. But yeah, no, thank you very much for coming on, Jack. Much appreciated. I'm sure a lot of people will benefit from some of the things that you've discussed here today as well.
Hopefully, yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think just reiterating that kind of trying to encourage people that this is definitely something that's doable if you put your mind to it, especially if you live in a kind of scenario where things are maybe a bit more challenging. Just note that there is things that we can do to make this still happen, you know?
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, nice one. Right, we'll end that there. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Cheers, mate.
Speak to you soon. Take care.
Cheers, George.